This drawing is a one-point perspective staircase projected from the vanishing point. So let's start off by titling this one-point staircase projected from vanishing point. So we're going to create the staircase on the right hand side. I already have my 14 by 17 inch paper centered and about 6 inches down from the horizon line. I will create my picture plane, horizontal measuring line. It's the same thing. Put my horizon line down. This is my center of vision, but more importantly, it's going to be my vanishing point. Now, this staircase we need to make sure that we keep the staircase away from the central line of vision. So right here. So put 0. And I'll keep this about an inch away. Yeah, 1.5 inches is fine. And the staircase will be about 6 inches wide. Okay, so let's get our measurements noted. One-half inch. This is 6 inches. Now it could be as wide as you want, but we have half the sheet of paper that we're using. So, and this is 6 inches. Now we're going to create the footprint or the base of this staircase first. So from the left and right, from these 2 points, we're going to draw 2 lines converging to the vanishing point. And we have to decide how deep of a footprint or floor that we're going to create for this staircase. So I'm going to create mine about right here. This is about how deep I'm going to make it. Right there. I might have to move it, but for our purposes, I think that this might work. Now we're going to have a pretty steep staircase. So I'm going to create 2 lines, 2 vertical lines from these 2 points. So we have the base, or this horizontal plane, converging to the vanishing point, and I have the back of this base here. It's about halfway up. I think that might work. But I do want this to be a fairly tall staircase. So I'm also going to create a vertical here, like that. Now, what I want to do is I want to make sure this is more or less like a box, similar to the one-point perspective that we had done earlier. Now, each one of these steps will be 1/2 inch tall. So if I make the staircase about, let me see, 8 inches tall, that might work pretty good. It's a pretty tall staircase, but I want it to be a significant size. So this is about 8 inches. Now we're using this as a horizontal measuring line. So I'm going to create 16 1/2 inches. And I'm using my architect scale for this. Architect scales are very, very precise. It's not required, but it does make things a lot easier to produce. And you get very, very precise measurements using it. All right, so there we go. Now this is 8 inches, so let's make a note. Okay, so each one of these units is 1/2 inch. Now we need to transfer these units all the way to the back wall. So let's go ahead and make this this vertical wall on the right. I'm going to line this up with a vanishing point, line the top up with a vanishing point, and then stop. Okay, so there's my wall. This wall is going to be very important for us because we're going to transfer all of these units all the way back to the rear. So I'm going to line this up with a vanishing point. Each one of these points I'm going to line up with a vanishing point and simply draw lines converging to the vanishing point but ending at that back corner or the back of the wall. Now there is a possibility that we might have to make adjustments to this, but I'm hoping that we won't have to. I think this might be tall enough and deep enough. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to create a tread that is deep enough so it looks realistic. Remember, in perspective, we're trying to create a realistic example of our three-dimensional world on a two-dimensional plane. That illusion is our job. All right. So now we're going to do this. And visualize what that staircase looks like. And I think this might work. You can see this. You can see this trace line, or this inclined plane. One of the reasons why I do this project during the same week that we do incline and decline planes is when you look at this, you will recognize this as a inclined plane. So let's create a top horizontal here. And this is going to look like a big wedge of cheese. So now I'm going to connect this diagonal up here, like so. So you can see this massive wedge. Okay, now we can keep going. We're almost done. This is the easy part. Actually, this is the hard part. Easy part's coming. So now we're going to create the profile of each step along this wall. So each point of these diagonals, we're going to create a vertical line straight down to the lower line. We already have one here. So we're going to start here. We have to be precise. So we're going to drop a vertical line straight down to the line below, like so. And now you can see the profile emerge. And quite honestly, we do have the skill set to finish this based on what we see here. Based on this profile that we're creating now, we all have the skill set to actually finish the rest of the drawing. If we simply just think of these steps as boxes, stacked boxes, a lot of sirens today, and our dogs just love it. Okay, there we go. There's a profile of our steps going all the way up. Now we transfer all this information over to this side. So how do we do it? We take the bottom of each tread and draw a line to the diagonal that creates the base. So you can see that here. And take a vertical from that point all the way up to this diagonal, going all the way up to the very top of the step, or the very top of this back wall. And then we take this horizontal of the front of the tread, or the front of the rise rather, sorry. And we draw a line to it, and there's the front of our first step. And from here, we're going to draw a line to the back, or to the from the front of the step. We're going to draw a line to the back wall, like that. And you can see this massive box that we just drew. But we're going a little bit far beyond that, because we're going to draw the front of each step. We're going to draw the rise and the tread, the rise and the tread. So we just drew the rise, and now we're going to draw the tread all the way across. And there's our step. And we're going to continue this process until we're done. But it is important to be precise. So that's why I'm taking very careful measurements and alignments when I do this. There we go. See, this area is very, very thin, and the further away it travels away from the horizon line, from the central line of vision, the easier it is to draw. But it is very thin through here, so it's something that you need to be careful of when you do the drawing. And notice I'm drawing to this diagonal, converging to the vanishing point. I'm not drawing to this diagonal. Anytime I'm drawing the back of each tread, I'm drawing the line all the way to this back diagonal, converging to the vanishing point. Okay, now with this, I'm going to draw the front of each step, or the front of each rise, and draw a vertical straight down to the step itself, and you can see that there. So I'm going to continue this process until I'm done. Draw a line to the back wall. Draw the back of the tread to that line. So I will continue this process over and over again until I'm done. Now, I realize this gets really thin, and it's supposed to. I mean, this is the nature of drawing staircases, especially in one-point perspective. Now, would it help if I stayed a little bit further away from this, from the central line of vision? Yes, probably could. But this is the nature of drawing in perspective. Sometimes you have these necessary areas that you have to draw. whose angle becomes so acute or obtuse that the angle makes it sometimes very difficult to draw. So that's why I'm telling you, draw one step at a time so you don't get lost. And I'm almost done. You can see that I'm almost done with this staircase. Now, it's quite all right to make these lines longer than they normally are, because you can always erase them, like I did with this one, and even with this one. If it helps, make the lines longer so you can see where they connect. There we go. Especially when it gets thinner like this. In many ways, what we're doing is we're drawing what we know. We're drawing boxes. Based on an inclined plane. So previously, we had a demonstration on incline and decline planes. And as you remember, with incline and decline planes, they have, in order for them to be successful and accurate, you need to draw them to a trace point on a line above the vanishing point. Now, as I finish this drawing or demonstration, I want you to look at these two lines and notice what they do. These lines in reality would be parallel to each other. As if you were traveling up a staircase, you would recognize that they are parallel to each other. But recognize what they're doing. These lines are ever so slightly converging. These two lines that make up these two angles, they are converging. So they are converging to a trace point above this vanishing point. So let me finish this up really quick. I'm going to jam through this. Oh, by the way, after you get past the horizon line, you can't see the back of... Alright, so I've extended this further back, the staircase, and you can actually go back even a little bit further too, just so it looks, has a little bit more believability to it. And the staircase is actually pretty done. So the next thing is to reestablish these lines, which takes a little bit of time. And that's what I'm doing with this the blue pencil. This is indigo blue. I decided to use a darker pencil for our cleanup, if you will. Makes it a lot easier to see. Actually, this is, oh no, this is regular blue pencil. In this lighting, it looks like it's indigo blue. So I'm just going all the way down, and I'm going to draw all my horizontals first. It makes it so much easier. And when you have a straight edge like this, it's an absolute dream, because you don't have to worry about anything coming, any of your horizontals getting skewed. Now, it's still important to make sure that your lines are precise. So I'm right-handed, so I'm just moving this down with my left hand and drawing my lines with my right, and also making sure that I have nice sharp pencils. So I have about 5 or 6 blue pencils for my cleanup. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to create the verticals, and the last one is to create the converging lines. Now the right hand side is great because I already have these lines made up and I just need to follow those. I really don't have to line them up with the vanishing point. So with this, I'm just being very careful, making sure that my lines are nice and straight and aligned with my original drawing. And there's the top of the step. This one is going to be a little bit tricky. This is where I have to be very careful. In fact, I'm going to reverse this so I have a nice straight edge. Sometimes this fancy 30, 60, 90 triangle is sometimes it's in some certain areas it's a little bit too thin on my straight edge, and so I have to be careful to not allow it to go underneath my straight edge. So I flip it upside down. What happens is the beveled edge of this, I don't know if you can see it, the beveled edge of this goes underneath this straight edge fairly easily, so I have to be very careful with it. So one of the easiest things to do is flip it upside down. Okay, so I have all my horizontals, all of my verticals, except for this rear one here. Now I'm going to draw all the lines converging to the vanishing point that I need to, so I'm going to line this up here. There we go. And I'm going to start right here, or actually right here below the horizon line. I'm going to draw these first. Just going to flip this over. This has some more precise edge. These lines are very short and not very deep. And I could just line it up using my original guidelines, but you know, I've always made a habit of lining it up with my vanishing point anyway, in case I made a mistake earlier in the drawing. And sometimes I do catch myself. No drawing is ever going to be perfect. Okay, and now this side. This is where I need to make sure that my lines are really accurate. So kind of flub there, but I can fix that later. So when you're doing these drawings at home, in your home studio, at your desk, you have a lot of time to practice using good line weight, good line quality. And this is an excellent opportunity for anyone who's drawing in perspective to practice precision line drawing. So use really good habits. Keep your lines, keep your pencils nice and sharp, keep your lines precise. You'll learn how to make them, how to exaggerate the lines when you need to, especially if you're doing any kind of curvilinear perspective or 5-point perspective. With this, this is your opportunity to be very precise, so you'll learn how to not be as precise later on. It's easier to learn all of the necessary steps to draw something very accurate, so you learn how to draw something that is more exaggerated. Okay, so there it is, 1-point perspective, 1-point perspective staircase projected from the vanishing point. Well, let's see how many steps that we created. Well, this is 8, so 16, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 steps. So this is beyond a normal flight of stairs, and it's pretty good. All right, again, this is a real tricky part right here, and this is where you take your time. Doesn't mean you don't take time over here. This is the area where you want to be precise. You want to be precise over here, but you are following your steps here. You are following the steps over here to draw these. Now, there is an alternate way to draw steps than this, and it is very similar. So instead of, you still need to draw these, draw the profile on this side. But if you notice, this back wall, after you've drawn these lines converging to the vanishing point based on these 1/2 inch units, you can transfer these units over here on this side horizontally and then connect these two. You can do that as well. That could be very precise. If you look at these these units all the way up very closely, you're very accurate. If you're accurate here, you're going to be accurate over here. So it's going to be very important to make sure you make careful measurements no matter what. Again, this is 6 inches by 8 inches, 1/2 inch rises. The tread is inconsequential. As long as you create something that is wide and deep enough. You'll notice how deep I made this. This is this length, I believe, is 6.5 inches. It might be actually 6 inches. Okay, 6 inches. The depth is at 3. Now, I didn't, if you remember the beginning of the demonstration, I arbitrarily decided it was about right here. Now, with that said, it happens to be at 3 inches, and that was not planned. There we go. So this is 3 inches from the horizon line all the way down to here. Now again, I did extend this further, but just simply so you can see it a lot easier. Okay. All right. Well, there it is. 1-point perspective projected. 1-point staircase projected from the vanishing point. Okay. We have. I'm going to do an additional drawing here of a similar staircase to this. It's still going to be projected from the vanishing point. So I'll get it started for you, and you'll see how this works. Now I've already established a 2-inch space between where the staircase is going to be and the central line of vision. And the staircase is 5.5 inches wide instead of 6. Now we will still have possibly an 8-inch tall measuring line. So I'll draw this here first, and I'll pop in those measurements really quick. So this is 1/2 inch. You could, you can decide how tall these are. You can use 3/4 of an inch. You can use 1/4 of an inch. It is quite small if you go 1/4 of an inch, though. Just FYI. So again, I am using my architect scale. It makes it extremely accurate. Let me flip this around to make sure I'm getting the right measurement. Okay, there's 8. Okay, there's 8. Now, I'm going to create the footprint or the base of this, and this base is going to go pretty far. I'm going to start off with something very similar to this. So I'm going to start off with a 3-inch base, a 3-inch base here. Actually, yeah, 3-inch base is fine. But we're gonna go even further back. So we're gonna go up about 5 steps first, and we'll see how far it goes. So we might have to extend it further back, but right now this is going to be our guide. So let's go ahead and draw a vertical here. So we're going to draw the vertical wall here and here. Now again, we might have to extend this further back, but for our purposes right now, this will work just fine. Again, we're gonna travel up 5 or 6 steps, and we're gonna create a landing for it. So with this, let's see, this is 8, so we're going to use this as a guide. Okay, there we go. It looks very similar to what we had before. But again, we are going to be drawing a landing for it. There we go. Now I'm going to erase some of these lines because we won't need all of them. That way it's less confusing. There we go. You can see right now we have much more of this side that we can actually see. It makes it a lot easier to draw. Now we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is 6. 6 steps. So with this, we're going to draw lines converging to the vanishing point, like that. This is going to be the top of the landing. Oh, and one more. All right, so let's go ahead and draw our first. Step. So we're going to start off this drawing in a similar way to our previous one. So I'm not going to go over this. I'm not going to repeat myself with this. I'm just going to draw, just simply show you how you can draw a landing. Now I'm going to draw one step at a time. This one's going to be a little bit different than what you've seen before. So I will, I guess, narrate this a little bit more, give you some sense of direction. So I'm literally going to be drawing one step at a time. And it does go by faster. It can go by faster when you do it in this way. My triangles keep getting caught on the tape. So if you see me flicking this, I'm not. I'm just trying to push this tape down. So I have 1, 2, 3 steps. 4. Go. 5. 6. Okay, now a landing is a resting area. Now we're still going to use these measurements, but this is going to go further back. Okay, so a landing is like a resting area, and many staircases have them, especially if it's going up a pretty steep area. Oh, I'm sorry, not a steep area, but an area where it's not a steep hill, but they still need to have steps. All right, so this is going to go further back, and I'll make it